I'm Dane Rose. Anyone following the Vault 7 expose by Julian Assange and WikiLeaks is aware that there's a new game in town. And the game, of course, is controlling information, accessing information more efficiently than it has ever been accessed. You can imagine the amount of effort that a CIA or other intelligence group had to go to intercept the communication of a foreign official or corporate owner, to actually have to go to another country to intercept a bit of paper mail, to eavesdrop on a conversation that could not take place except in person. The amount of difference, the months of time and preparation, the covert documents, the enormous expense of gathering information to have a sense of what the enemy was and is going to do, that can now be, let's just hack into their email account and read in real time what's going on halfway around the world. No forged passport necessary. Understands just how valuable access to information is in the present game, which has always been influencing power and influencing individuals for personal agendas, for presumed national agendas, for financial agendas, for political agendas. It is this constant hunger to be able to have influence on a wide number of people, and then to use that influence not for their best interest, not to love and show worry. We need to tap into your email accounts so we can hear you're having a divorce problem and get you to a good therapist, or get you to a good book, or help your child go out and do some sports to release their aggression and calm down their PTSD. No, it's never been for the well-being of the individual. It is always the individual that is asked to be expendable for some political, some corporate, some national agenda that is quite questionable in its logic, particularly in a global market and economy, where if you do blow up 100 million people with a nuclear bomb or destabilize their economy, oh yes, right, they don't have as many people in that country to buy your country's products. And your people benefit from a healthy economy, not from radioactive waste drifting over from whoever you've bombed. So there's a very shaky logic in this whole adversarial position. But anyone aware of Vault 7 and WikiLeaks is aware that the United States government is spending an incredible amount of money and manipulative pressure on the major tech companies, Microsoft, Apple, etc., to put hardware in, to put software in, to put viruses in that damage the quality, the security of American goods for the benefit of the CIA, who has, of course, always had the citizens' best interest at heart in their introduction of crack cocaine or a whole host of experiments. LSD was a CIA experiment on unsuspecting citizens. This is not an agency that is known for putting the individual well-being of an American or anyone else in the world ahead of its agendas. And its agendas are often very convoluted. And they do not bring the information to the people who might be able to benefit from it. It's always these committees with their lobbying groups. So it's not a very healthy dynamic. Now, there are a couple of movements around this that are kind of, I guess, responses to people that do not want to be used as pawns for the global intelligence communities, access to their phones for who knows what purpose. You can sell the information to a Russian hacking group who can access identities, change identities, steal your money. You can sell it to another black market group, which is trying to money launder for information stuff over here. There are a whole host of agendas, but the bottom line is almost none of them have a single empathic human being on the other side of them that's saying, what's best for this person and his family? And so this is an awareness, a heightened awareness video and a defense of what you can do. So number one, there are phones that, are completely clean phones. They're being made specifically to be fully encrypted and to bypass this influence. They are expensive. Now, one of the things that prompted this is I just wrote an Amazon review because I returned the Zhiyun Smooth Q gimbal. This is a gimbal to take photos and videos on my phone. I believe it's a Chinese company. But here's the interesting thing in this cyber war that, just can raise some alarms. So the first thing in context is to be aware that if you can control the smartphones in another country, in many ways, and the information on those smartphones, in many ways you have more influence than a television. In many ways you have more influence than a government. In many ways you have more influence than a family member. If you can control the phone, the first thing to be aware of is that the levels of dopamine and adrenaline addiction associated with the phone, the biological relationship with the phone is often stronger than the biological relationship with the individuals in that person's community. You have situations where people sit in circles and text to each other in complete silence. You have people who are much more upset if the phone is removed from their presence than if any other member in the group steps out of the presence. Now, when we understand that relationships are biological, that emotions are biological, that there has never been a single emotion in the history of humankind that has not led to some response in the body, that there has not been a change in the body at any point that doesn't bring the chemicals of emotion, that there is not a single action in human history, whether it is from scientists who pretend not to have emotions. Those scientists are pretending not to have emotions for an emotional reason. In this case, the fact that in the scientific community, one's denial of emotion is a sign of rank. The fact that in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to be loved and belong is need number 3, that it ties deeply to survival and security in a social and interdependent species, means that if the ranking system in some bizarre group is you don't have emotion, then everyone competes for emotional reasons to show less emotion. There has never been an action in human history that was not emotionally triggered. The chemicals of the feeling are what provide the energy for impetus. If you have no fear, no pain, no joy, no excitement, no dreams, nothing, you don't even move. Your body may breathe a little bit in automatic function, but you don't get out of bed. There's no reason. You just lay there until you die, and there's nothing frightening. It is emotion that pivots the world. Now, when you understand the biological nature of emotion, and you understand what creates the intensity of the emotion is the biological chemical, then the fact that the phone is the strongest biochemical relationship for many people in their entire life. If you say, my baby is missing or my phone's missing, there are mothers on this planet, despite the birthing process, that literally register more panic around the missing phone than the baby. Now, it used to be the baby, etc. The phone has competed as a technology to have more adrenaline, more dopamine, more control, a great traumatic response need. When we understand that the relationship with the phone is, for many people, biologically stronger linked in a culture that refuses to show emotion, in a culture that doesn't hug, in a culture that doesn't shake and engage, that doesn't laugh, that doesn't engage as much as it taps and engages in this and that and the other, and pursues the chemical drive of the game, the drug, in the body. And then someone interrupts, like, get away from me, you're stealing my dopamine, you're stealing my adrenaline, you're distracting me. I can't get this intensity with you. Hey, how's it going? Well, it's fine. It doesn't do it for me. I want the dopamine fix. So when we understand this, we understand that for these people whose biological connection is stronger with their phone, the people who control their phone are controlling those people. The people who influence that phone are influencing those people. And the people who influence large segments of the population are having more influence than a president or some other elected official or the boss at work, etc. And there is a competition for this influence. So what does this mean, basically? So there's enormous groups of people, whether it's corporations, whether it's governments, whether it's intelligence agents, lobbyists, whether it's people that don't want to be found out about this or that or the other, whatever it is, that have emotional agendas that have nothing to do with you. And you have an emotional connection with the phone that they have access to. So what I'm looking at are the risks here and and what can be done about it. So as I'm I'm downloading, first of all, most things, like I have all kinds of buttons to control my camera, they don't need apps. They don't need independent apps. I have a Bluetooth button that has a mouse, a zoom, a play. I have a Bluetooth controller for my phone camera, my Note 8, that is just link it, right? So I buy a gimbal when I'm, for smoother filming and interviewing. But it doesn't just link. I mean, I can pair it, it finds it, it spots, but none of the buttons move. Interesting. They want me to download an app. Okay. When you inject a new software program onto a phone, you have a little bit more influence. Okay, so they want me to download the app. Then there's an instant message for an update. Aha. The app, they could easily update the app on Play Store, but now there's a need for an update that is not necessarily checking with Play Store. So now we're going outside of the control of the monitor organization, the Play Store. Okay, so interesting. They've been doing this for some time. You want to update to our latest thing? It's not like they update the original program. So then the next thing that comes along is we want to access all your videos and all your photos. It's like, really? To zoom my camera, you need access to all the media on my phone? Yep, that's what we need. I click deny. Okay, you can't open our app. Okay, fine. We'll give them, I don't have, I clear my media and stuff. So, okay, we'll give them access to the photos and the media. Well, next they want access to recording audio and recording video. Okay, someone wants to not only have access to my videos and stuff, they want to be able to record. My little widget doesn't need that, but okay. Then they say, we want access to all your contacts. We want to be able to make phone calls. It's like, very interesting. A gimbal to stabilize my phone may just need to call my best friend to what? Make sure I'm on time for the birthday party? No, I don't want you to have access to my phone. Well, we're not going to let you open the app. Okay. Fine, we'll give them access to the contacts and stuff, because I keep this phone in airplane mode anyway. It's not a big deal. They're not going to be able to. Oh, then they want the location. It's like to pan and tilt a gimbal. You need to know where in the world I am. Not only my friends and da-da-da, you need to know. And I don't have the location turned on. I have sensitive hands, and if I hold a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi or a 4G device, the joints here, tingle, itch a little bit. I feel a little bit here. It can last for an hour. It can last for a day. It's uncomfortable. I've held this phone in Wi-Fi to download the app, and it's an hour later, and I feel discomfort in these joints here and here. It's about 20-30% discomfort. That's just from about 15 minutes of exposure. So of course I keep my location off. I don't want these signals that are hurting my hands. The app will not work. It says you have to go to permissions, you have to turn on your location so that we know where you are right now for you to be able to pan and tilt your camera. So what's going on here with a Chinese company discounting a gimbal so that I'll buy it on Amazon on the premise and the basis that I will need to disclose my contacts, my media, my location, and in some cases, for example, Microsoft would not allow me to use Outlook. The app Outlook. Microsoft will not allow Outlook to work unless you give Microsoft the ability to not only access the phone, because Microsoft's number one, right? So it's not only going to bully you around this, that, and the other. It says we're not going to let this work unless you give us the right at our discretion to turn your phone on or off and to make changes to the phone. Well, that's a nice, friendly gesture. It's kind of like saying, I'd like a pizza. And they're like, well, what's the password to your Wi-Fi? It's like, I'm not following. I wanted a pizza. Well, what's the password to your Wi-Fi? What does that have to do with anything? Well, we don't deliver pizza. We have a policy. We don't deliver pizza unless you give us your Wi-Fi password. Well, why do you need that? Well, I don't know. The boss said I have to get that. So, and do you want your pizza or not? And then by the way, what time do you go to work? And where do you keep your key? Where do you keep your key? What's the Wi-Fi password? And I want to know when you're at work in real time so that I can go and steal stuff in your house. And then you get a free delivery. Free delivery. It's on the house. Or you can pay an extra, pay a normal delivery fee. And the question is, who's buying this information and this access? Well, one of the reasons that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange is been systematically harassed in the Peruvian embassy, denied all kinds of human rights, etc., and punished is because he's bringing awareness to the fact that your and my identities and information, etc., are being sold in the open market to intelligence agents, to corporations, to a whole host of individuals and people who all have an agenda that just happens to have very little to do with your personal well-being and your freedom to control your life. Now, of course, once you create addiction, which you do with trauma that goes unmedicated and untreated, you create trauma, you now need an addictive coping mechanism, a distraction to manage overwhelming levels of pain. Once you have a traumatized culture that is trauma illiterate, they're going to gravitate towards the most legal, easy addictions. Alcohol, cigarettes, which both do more damage than LSD and are perfectly legal, for example. They're going to move towards sugar, a very addictive substance. We're going to move towards dopamine and adrenaline with phone addiction. Okay, so we're going to move a whole culture that's in pain into managing its pain through these dopamine adrenaline fixes. They've done studies with rats. Gabor Mate is one of the experts on addiction. They've done studies with rats because they used to be trying to say in the war on drugs that it was the drug. It's not your pain that leads you to spend thousands of dollars to ruin your life and create an addiction because no one else is dealing with the pain. It's the drug itself. Just happy, wonderful individuals who just have a toke of some toxin just can't do anything else. They're just hooked. It's not your pain, it's the drug. But then they did, and then they would show this they would stick this rat in this Klieg light. Horrific experience for a rat that doesn't like light. So let's traumatize the rat in the Klieg light. Then let's have people who are not rats, who are sociopaths, who will happily kill you. You get that vibe off them. This is a sociopath who is going to kill 50% of you for some fucked up experiment. You think animals can't sense when people are trying to kill them? Of course they can. So we're going to traumatize you. Your life is in danger. This is a completely hostile environment. We're going to stick you in a cage away from all your friends. You're not going to have nice nuts and cheese and all that. You're just going to have a stainless steel tube. There's some crap here. And then you're in complete isolation. You're a social species. Doesn't matter. We're going to just isolate you from it. We're going to sit there. Now, you can take a drug that will numb all this sociopathic pain that we've created for you, or you can do nothing. What are you going to do? Oh, look at the rats. They're addicted. They're addicted to that drug. And, all you have to do to look at the fallacy of this assumption that it's all about the drug is you give that rat lots of lovers. You give that rat healthy food. You give that rat a nice natural environment. You get that sociopath away from the rat, give him a nice rat hole to be in, and then you give it healthy rat food or the drug, and the rat prefers the healthy rat food. Well, you take a human being, you stick him in high school, you stick him in the trauma of sociopathic chauvinism in which all their emotions are humiliated and should be apologized for, and there's 10,000 rules, and if you do anything wrong, you get fired, and then you're a loser, and it's all your fault, and then you give them, attention deficit disorder from all this panic, and then so-and-so's cheating on this, and then you give them a porn addiction, and then you give them some drugs that will just ease all that, or you give them some healthy food, and the person takes the drug. It's not the drug, it's the environment. So there's this sociopathic culture in which many of us don't have a single individual who can fully see, empathize, and understand with who we are, and that cares about our heart, our soul, our dreams. Ours, not the culture's. Go get a Ferrari. They're uncomfortable. They're loud. They're smelly. They're expensive. They hurt the planet. Oh, but that's exactly the kind of thing we like in this culture. You get a Ferrari, and suddenly you're important. So in other words, just to continue the general culture theme, if I get a more uncomfortable car, and barely get the door and this and that and the other, if I spend my whole life and my savings buying a $300,000 car, if I get a noisy car and it's a stick shift, right? We have a nice Prius automatic. No. Let's have something really uncomfortable. And then, I have to really, and then if I pay much more money for gas to pollute the planet for, then I'll be popular? Yes, that's the idea. It's like, then all that shame that was dumped on me will be taken away. Yes, you'll have a Ferrari. More money for more crappy experiences. Oh, wonderful. So it's this bizarre backward message. But dopamine is an endogenous, we have adrenaline, dopamine, etc. These are endogenous chemicals in our body, and we addict to those through the phone. They haven't managed to make a way to find them, illegal. DMT is also endogenous. We have a Schedule 1 illegal drug in our brain right now that facilitates mystical experience. In our dreams, in near-death experience, it's released, and we have certain experiences that are phenomenal. Well, let's keep that away and get people on the phones. Now, people who take LSD and DMT generally are less willing to participate in the cultural charade. Well, then they're in less pain, and then they're less easy to manipulate. And this is a nightmare. So let's just, ban everything that would be healthy for the individual, and get them to buy faster and faster phones to get them more and more, addicted on dopamine. So what I wanted to do is give a little bit of context of what's happening and why it seems like a win for everyone. So you're an app developer and there's thousands of apps, and you can't get a bank loan for an app, and you want to do a really cool app, and you can't get a team. You're not Microsoft. You haven't made deals with this and that and the other that's made you into a monopoly or whatever. So you're an app developer, and you're in a race with another app developer, and someone knocks on your door and says, we'll underwrite the entire app. We just want to see a certain few features in this app. We'll make this really cool. You can give it away for free. We'll pay for it all. And what we want is these are the features the app must have to receive our underwriting. Well, we want access to people's media. We want access to their location. We want to be able to turn their phone on and off. We want to be able to make calls. Well, this is a little bit odd. A gimbal that makes phone calls? Gimbal, call me up my best friend on his birthday. Yep, that's the deal. Well, of course, if you don't want to make the deal, we'll go over to your competitor, and they'll get $300,000 to make the coolest app on the market. And yes, it will be able to make phone calls. Okay, well, fine. We'll add in the feature, But what's on the market, what is highly valuable, is the ability to track calling patterns, to track searches. If you want to be able to blackmail someone, and you see, mistress, woman here has this, wife is not, I see, this is the pattern. So-and-so has a mistress, and their wife doesn't know about it. Good to know. Okay. They work at Apple, and they do over here. They could be useful for this agenda. Okay, so we now have an in, and they can receive a text message, right? We'll tell wife about affair unless you move package A to package B. Who are you? I don't know. Is it worth ruining my marriage to not move a package? Okay, I'm going to move this and here. And you have this ability to influence other people. And the more information you have about their pain, which then corresponds with their compulsiveness, their addiction. Addiction is a pain management strategy. The more pain people are in, the more addicted they are. The more addicted they are, the more manipulatable they are, because people are loyal to their addictions over their family, over their country, over their own health, because it manages pain. So in a culture with as much pain as ours, with 1 in 7 Americans are considered to have a substance addiction, you now have a very manipulatable culture, because those are just the people that have illegal what about, the legal stuff like, the phone addiction? Oh, that's not counted. So how many people are actually compulsive or addictive to work, to this, to that? Well, you take the person who's addicted to work and addicted to performance. They get a little note. Dear so-and-so, you do not know me, but I know that you did this on your job and you're addicted to job. And this information will go to your boss unless you move this over to here, unless you put a little camera in the corner here. No one will know you did this, but just stick a little camera. It will arrive by post. Stick it right here. Interesting. Now some agency, for some reason we don't know, is surveying a technical innovation that could be used for military purposes over here, over here. The phones are a doorway into our pain and into our medication for pain, as well as the information. So once an app that is often free, now this gets into the entitlement. We want people to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars developing an amazing app so that we can do something frivolous for free. I want to be able to look at the stars for free and tilt this and do that. Well, that costs $89,000. Well, I don't want to pay for it. This is the opportunity, again, the entitlement. Someone has to pay these bills. Now, when you have an entitled audience that wants endless new things, okay, this app company turned us down. This app company turned us down. This app company turned us down. And this app company is quite happy to write in every permission under the sun. And we're going to give them $500,000 for the right to control 500,000 phones at $1 a piece. Click. You get a text of fake news. Click. The pattern of family relationships allows a Chinese company to market a product more effectively because they've got the information of this blind spot. Click. This information is used. Oh, nobody's ever done that. I would see the record in my calls. Oh, okay. So there is an agency somewhere that's paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for the right to do a one-time explosion, right? A one-time, suddenly crash a network. Like, we don't want anyone knowing about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on everyone's phone, 500,000, a million. We're all going to call these numbers in a way that'll crash this network and this network and this network. Then we're going to do this. And suddenly nobody knows what's happening because they don't have access to their phones because their phone's turned off. Well, if anyone did that, I would what? What would you do? You see? And then, well, I wouldn't trust that app again. Well, good. The nuclear bomb is already off. The company is already, the stock is already, it's done. That was worth $3 million for a foreign country to turn 3 million phones off one time. And the stock volatility that was manipulated and someone made $800 billion. Is that worth it to someone? Do you want your phone messed with? So, the buyers of information are hedge funds, individuals, corporations, American intelligence agencies, foreign intelligence agencies, anyone who can see an opportunity to exploit someone else's vulnerability for a personal, short-term profit or power game. The U.S. government is obviously very thick in this buying of influence, literally manipulating and blackmailing large companies to weaken their own value. Meaning, if you're intelligent and you know the history of the CIA and how many times they really help the American people and how many times they give them drugs without permission, how many times they plant this, how many times they use this person for an experiment on something, how many times they sell crack cocaine to a neighborhood to raise money to give weapons to some terrorist organization that they then need more money to fight the terrorist organization. Osama bin Laden gets money from and then, then takes more money to go kill with the weapons we gave him. So if you think all that's in the interest of you and your family, then this is great. You will be used in a pawn, as a pawn to foster your great country's intelligent use of your time, money, resources, family, photos, images, phone, etc. If you think this is a joke, an invasion, a manipulation that is something not quite healthy about the fact that it used to take an intelligence agent, they'd actually have to fly to Russia, they'd have to get a warrant, they'd have to make a passport. So they would only do it if it was really in the national interest, as opposed to, yeah, we can just get everyone's email for a few pennies here and there. We'll just use it up. If we need to manipulate this person 10 years down the road, or maybe 7 years, oh, we see you did a crime. Interesting. You ran a red light. You didn't do this. And you lied about that to get custody because you didn't want to lose your son. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll file that away. And we know what you did. The United States government is not happy unless you do X, X, and X. Well, is X, X, and X really for the benefit of the American people, or does it just give that intelligence agency a little bit of an extra leg up over another intelligence agency that's in some immature spat, to try and see who can control and damage their people the most as the ultimate expression of power? So please ask your companies, why to get my email from you do Microsoft need to turn on and off my phone? Why? What's the reason of that? We cannot deny that access and still got our email. What is your policy? What do you do when you're asked to compromise your entire customer base around the world for $5 billion, and then you get to make an acquisition and get a little bit favorable hearing, and then the IRS will overlook this tax fraud over there, or you can go to jail. The choice is you. What is your defense against being bullied by these covert interests that love to trade in the influence based on fear and shame and illegality? So we'll create all these laws. You could go now suddenly, the trouble with this current state of affairs is whether it's a speeding ticket, an affair, being homosexual in some countries, this, that, and the other, parents don't know you're a lesbian. By creating these sick cultures that are highly illegal, it creates fear and shame, which are traumas, which then need medication and protection. Well, then when you open this up to covert agents for reasons you cannot understand, you don't see how the pieces fit together. It's an unhealthy balance of power. So you can buy phones that are not made by the major manufacturers and actually just call people. You can buy encryption devices. The CIA tried to get around Apple's encryption devices by actually putting in a hardwired dongle in some of their devices so that they would catch the information before it was encrypted. It's encrypted in the app, but we're catching it as it comes in on the Wi-Fi or the cable. Well, this is disturbing. It's disturbing primarily because of the history of the intelligence agencies, how much money they have taken to hurt how many people, and then the consequence over time of their actions has almost never been in the true interests of the average people. And the people that it raises with this level of secrecy, where you cannot tell your wife the truth, where you put the agency ahead of your family, both because you could be killed at any moment, and who cares about that? I'm serving, the country, but also there's this partition. You cannot have the true beauty of trust in a marriage. The people raised in an intelligent agency are some of the most unhealthy people. There's all this artificial partitioning. If you're across this line on the earth, you're a villain, and we can just gas you to death and murder you as no hesitation. But if you're on this side of the line, well, we're here to protect you. Well, this guy over on that was a nice family person, and this person we're protecting is an asshole. Well, it doesn't matter. We just murder people based on the lettering on their passport. This is not healthy human behavior. This is sad for every single person involved. So, having shared these thoughts on the Xeon Smooth Q gimbal, I thought I'd share them here as a little bit of a context to grieve the isolation, the sadness of everyone on all sides. Because when you betray, when you deceive, when you lie, when you use, you have to feel more isolated. You have to separate from the people you lie, betray, use, and betray. You cannot feel loved and belonging with the people you treat this way, which makes people in the intelligence agencies some of the most lonely, some of the most misunderstood people on the planet. And then they're told you're serving your country. It's very sad.